We're back once more, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to set off for Ecuador right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Steve Miller, the internet's QiRanger. Thank you for joining me this week on the QiRanger podcast. I am joined on the line by Miss Doris Neibauer, who runs LittleMissItchyFeet.com. Doris, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Steve.
So, Doris, you're going to take us to a fun place this week. I've always wanted to go to Ecuador, so tell me a little bit about your trip there.
Yeah, you definitely should go to Ecuador. I had a great time there. It was part of a 8-month trip through South America. And I have to say Ecuador was one of the places which felt really special to me. So I spent about 2 months there and
Wow.
did a lot. So I started coming down from Colombia and then I zigzagged across the country.
Okay, so how did you actually get into Ecuador?
I took a bus, so I crossed the border from from Colombia by bus, which is supposedly a little difficult, some people say, and it was quite difficult for me as well. Not so much because the buses are crap, but mostly because it's like 2 hours on this bus, 1 hour on the other, and then across, like in the beginning of Ecuador, in the first couple of hours on the bus, you're checked like at least 5 times by the Ecuadorian police. So they prevent you from taking anything in from Colombia. So they're quite afraid of it.
Of
But other
anything.
than that, it was really fine.
Okay. Are there any kind of issues with trying to get like transit visas or visas to enter into the country?
No, I'm European. I don't have any troubles with it, but I don't think that any US people would have any trouble with it either. Ecuador is really friendly. They opened themselves for tourists quite a bit. They do a lot for tourists as well. Compared to Colombia, where I came from, for example, the roads in Ecuador were just perfect.
Really?
Yeah. No bumpy roads, no water floods, nothing. Just really nice roads, comfy buses, and everything is quite cheap still. Yeah.
Super. So, for those who have not been to Ecuador, what are some key aspects about the country in general in terms of population and geography that you would like to share to the audience?
First, what makes Ecuador such a great spot for tourists is that it has everything. So to speak, you have the mountains, you have beaches, you have cities, you have a warm climate, you have the forests like the rainforest and the jungle. So there's like everything. And compared to other countries in South America, it's pretty small and it's pretty simple and easy to get to all the places. Yes, there are, the population is, they have a huge amount of indigenous people, which more or less live up in the mountain area and in the jungle area. And as I said, the bus trips, usually you take a bus in Ecuador as in every other country in South America because the trains are mostly for tourists. There are some train sections which you could take. For example, the Nariz del Diablo, which is one of the oldest trains and a very steep one. I couldn't take it back then because it was closed when I was there. But it's just a tourist thing. So you take this train for 2 hours. You don't get anywhere you want to go. It's just so to take this train.
It's just a scenic ride.
Exactly. And but usually you take the buses, and as I said, usually you are pretty lucky with the buses. They're quite clean. They're, as I said, very cheap for what you get, and you can take a lot of overnight buses as well. During all the 2.5 or 2 months in Ecuador, I was only once I had a bad experience with the buses. There was a company which took me from Puerto Lopez to Quito. Mm-hmm. And afterwards I found out that this was one of the few companies which no Ecuadorian would ever take because it's so. The driver was drunk, and the co-driver was drunk as well, and dropped my bag almost into the dirt, and so it was. And we had to stop several times, and so it was just not a good experience. Other than that, I was pretty lucky.
Cool. Now, as far as getting around in Ecuador, I grew up in the United States and speak Spanish, but if you don't speak the local language, do you find it difficult to communicate and navigate?
It can be tricky at times, but I have to say, again, compared to the experience I had in Colombia, I found it pretty simple and pretty easy to get along with Ecuadorians. Mostly because they really like to speak with you, no matter in which language.
Okay.
So they try to speak in English, and if they see that you speak a little bit of Spanish, they're super friendly, and they talk a lot to you and try to help you. And this is something I really found, especially with Ecuadorians. They really step out of their way to help you and guide you through areas and all that. As all the other South American cultures, it's mostly you have to pay attention what they tell you, because at times they just tell you, oh, go this road or follow this road, because you get there and they don't even know what you're searching for. So they just say something. They just
say something and get you on your way.
Just to say something.
Just to say something. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Oh, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's just the culture there. They don't want to say no to you, so they try to do something with you and help you in some way.
In some way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But usually it's recommendable to know a little bit of Spanish at least.
Okay. In terms of places to stay, tell us a little bit about where you stayed, because you were there for, as you said, 2 months. So, and you were traveling all around. So how did you find accommodations?
Well, I have to say that I'm usually couch surfing with people because I'm a huge fan of private accommodations, and I also thought that, especially in Ecuador, I was super lucky with all my couch surfing hosts. And usually when I stayed with couch surfers, which were easy to find, by the way, I got my bed, my bedroom, my private bathroom, and working Wi-Fi, which is something you cannot find all the time in hostels.
Right.
But I also stayed, as you said, I was there for such a long time and traveled around quite a bit. So of course, I stayed with other accommodations like hostels, bed and breakfasts, etc. as well. And I want to name a few really good experiences I had.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what places really stuck out in your mind?
So there were 2 things, or 3 things, really, I want to point out. The first thing is not an accommodation like a hostel, but it's an Ecolodge I stayed in.
Okay.
I was in the Amazonas in the Yasuni National Park, which is run by the QiRanger people, which is the local people. And it's right in the jungle. You only get there by boat and all that. But it's a very nice Ecolodge. It's, as I said, in the middle of the rainforest, and the crew was really lovely. They cooked for us. They prepared food. We went on jungle tours to the jungle, and it was not crowded, not overdone. Just really a nice place. They had great hammocks, and the butterflies came right to you, sitting on your socks, which were drying because of the rain, and all that. So really nice. And I sent you the link to the place, so right. I don't know if you have show notes or something.
I do. Yeah, I'll put in the show notes. QiRanger.com. How do you pronounce it?
QiRanger, but I'm not pronouncing it well. I think I always have troubles with that name. I don't know. But this is the tribe's name of the people in the jungle. But I really would recommend it. I stayed there for 4 days, and it was part of a tour. But it's combined with this lodge anyway, so yeah, really good. The second thing I really liked is I'm into hiking, and I was doing the Kilotoa loop. I started in Latacunga in a hostel called Tiana, and this hostel is run by, I think, I don't even know if it's French or German people. I think it's French people. But anyway, they have like a lot of recommendations for how to hike the Quilotoa loop. It's a very popular loop. It's a very popular hike, but it's not that you run into people all the time. And it's one of the safest hike in Ecuador for sure. I think even like in South America. Or
oh, wow. Okay.
It's really a really beautiful hike. You hike up in the mountains, and you can do it for 2 days, 3 days. Depends on how long you want to stay or how much you want to hike or how many buses you want to take, because there are buses at some points, and it's just a very great hike. And you can I'm really bad with navigation, and my internal GPS doesn't work, so within the first 10 minutes, and I hiked there alone because I didn't want to wait for other people, so within the first 10 minutes I got lost on the hike.
On a trail? Okay, so explain how you get... Okay, I'm just envisioning you going up into a mountain, and there's a trail. A trail goes typically in two directions. So were there any forks that you had to make choices?
No, it's like a circuit. But the thing is that in general in South America, I found that they don't have a lot of signs telling you where to go.
Okay.
Or really well hidden. But and it was the case in this part. And you get a map and you get everything, but it says like, go up there and turn right at the first farmhouse, and there are 3 farmhouses, and they're all at the same place and all that. So it's a lot really confusing to me, at least. But I've heard from other people it's confusing to them again as well. But okay, from this hostel Tiana in Latacunga, you get a bus to Isinlivi, which is up at 2,900 meters.
Okay.
And it's like I think it's like 2 hours bus ride, but it's really a hard ride. It's steep, and anyway, so you get up there, and then what I did was I stayed in the hostel Yumi, which is it's only... I think it's the only hostel up there.
Okay.
It's super cozy. It belongs to the same owners as the Tiana. And it's run by volunteers, and it's really nice, and with a lot of books, and you can make yourself really comfortable there and just relax for half a day or something.
Oh, very cool.
And there's a wooden furniture company there, which produces amazingly beautiful furniture. You can visit that. And then the next day, that's how I did it. I hiked to Chukchilan. And it sounds like it's around the corner, but it's not. It's like the whole day, especially when you get lost. But then you can ask there's so many farmers up there, indigenous farmers, and they help you. It was amazing. Once I met an old lady who just came down from walk with their sheep, I think, and she came to me, shook hands, and said, "Oh my God, you're sweating." And I was like, "Yes, I've been hiking for the last 10 hours." And but then she guided me up and showed me the way, and it was really, really nice and kind. So I made it to Chukchilan.
Okay.
In Chukchilan, you stay. There are some hostels there. I stayed in the cloud forest, which was really nice, and they had an oven there and a fireplace, and there came local people and sang around the fire, and I was singing with them, and so that was really a really nice experience, getting in touch with locals as well.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. But what you could also do, I couldn't do it because it was raining too hard. I was there during rainy season. But you could also do to move on to Quilotoa Crater Lake, which is like the big goal when you go on this hike, to see the Quilotoa Crater Lake, which is really beautiful. So you can also stay in this area among the around the lake, or you can just stay in Chukchilan overnight. And then you take the bus in the morning, or if you want to hike, you can hike there too. But there's a bus which takes you from Chukchilan to Quilotoa Crater Lake.
Oh, okay.
And you can hike down the Crater Lake or just hang out in the area, I would recommend the hike down there, even though it's really steep and you kind of curse yourself for doing it.
You recommend it, but you're going to curse yourself the entire way.
Pardon again?
Oh, you said you recommend doing it, but you're going to curse yourself the entire way you are doing it.
It's so steep and it's such a hard walk up and down and both ways, but it's still beautiful there, and you can see like the reflections in the lake down there of all the mountains around you, and it's just gorgeous, and it was just beautiful.
Oh, it sounds like it. While you were in Ecuador, did you try any local foods that really stood out in your memory?
I have to say, I'm vegetarian, so it's quite hard to find good food anywhere in South America, because usually you get rice, not flavored, not spiced, and beans maybe, or plátanos, so the bananas.
Right.
Ecuador, I found the hostels which are recommended in the Yumiyama, for example, up in Isinlivi. They had like great food. They cooked it there for us, and they had perfect food. And I also found that Ecuador was, again, compared to Colombia, where I was coming from at the time, used more spices and also cooked more with vegetables. And I actually preferred the food in Ecuador more than the food in Colombia, but I heard it the other way around as well. So
personal preference.
And yeah, and what I think is, for meat eaters, I think they love a lot of things and they have a lot of choices. For vegetarians, it's not like that.
Okay, that's good to know. If you had one tip to give someone who is thinking of going to Ecuador, what would that be?
Apart from just do it?
Yeah, apart from just do it. One piece of advice, some nugget of information that may or may not be included in a guidebook that's sometimes overlooked. Being there for 2 months, what does your wisdom say that you should impart on other travelers?
That's really a hard one. One thing I hardly ever use guidebooks, so I'm getting recommendations and tips from other travelers and all that. But what I really liked, and I don't know if it's in a guidebook or not, but in South America you get a lot of people say you have to go to the thermal bath. And I was really disappointed by them. They are not really nice and nothing. The only one I really liked was in Papayacta, in Ecuador, which is close to Quito, so about an hour away, and it's a nice spot for a day trip. Just if you don't want to spend more time in Quito, if you just relax a little, and it's in the mountains, and it's close to a river, so you can also bath in the river. And it's a local spot, I'd say. It's more a local spot than all the other thermal baths.
Okay.
So that might be something which is not in guidebooks, but I really don't know. And what I always recommend is really talk to the people, because even if you don't speak Spanish, just be open enough to chat along with the people on the buses and take the chances, because you get them. They so want to talk to you and so want to get to know you and all that, and that's great.
Oh, cool. Well, Doris.
Thing,
okay, go ahead.
Just one more thing.
All right.
Because of such a meetup with people, I got up in the mountains in indigenous areas as well, and that's something I would recommend to everyone, because it's such it's shocking, surprising, but it's just a great experience to get up in an indigenous mountain area and just just hike there maybe.
Well, okay, so you said it was shocking. What was so shocking about it?
Well, I was there with a non-profit organization doing educational work for the people there, and they run schools. It was close to Riobamba, which is quite central in Ecuador, and I was in this mountainous village, and we went to a classroom or a school, and the school was well, run down is just really a nice word for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's, yeah, quite shocking. And then you go into a classroom and there are people between the age of, let's say, 6 and 20. One had her baby, and they were all sitting close to each other. They don't have a lot of stuff. They don't have hardly any paper to write on.
Right.
And it's just like this experience. It was just, it still exists, you know.
Yeah. I totally understand. That's an awesome experience, and what an amazing opportunity and a way to help out so many other people.
Yeah.
Super. Well, Doris, thank you so much for joining me this week on the podcast.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. We're just about out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Doris Neubauer of Little Miss Itchy Feet has been joining me this week talking about her experiences in Ecuador. And you can find all of her contact information in the show notes by clicking over to QiRanger.com. I'll be back next week with a full episode, and you can keep up with all my adventures both in Korea and around the world by following me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Just look for QiRanger. But until next time, remember to be true to yourself and always be awesome.